The crack of his palm against my cheek echoed through the dimly lit study like a thunderclap. But it wasn't the pain that stunned me. It was the cold certainty in his eyes that he'd finally crossed a line he couldn't uncross. Richard Harlan, my stepfather. The man who'd charmed his way into our lives with promises of stability and success, stood there breathing heavily, his campaign tie askew, as if daring me to fight back. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I wiped the blood from my split lip and whispered, "You've just given me the last piece I needed. My name is Emily Carter. And at 32, I'd built a life out of spotting lies in the fine print. As a healthcare compliance analyst for Riverside General in Southern California, my days were spent poring over patient records, insurance claims, and billing codes, dry stuff to most. But to me, it was a puzzle where every mismatch screamed a story. I'd moved back into my mother's sprawling ranch-style home in the suburbs of Riverside 4 months earlier, after a messy divorce left me scraping by on alimony that barely covered rent. "Just until you get back on your feet," Mom had said, her voice soft with that familiar mix of worry and hope. But the house wasn't the sanctuary I'd remembered from childhood. Richard had turned it into his war room for his city council bid, with yard signs stacked in the garage and donor calls echoing through the halls at all hours. From the start, Richard treated me like an inconvenient guest in my own home. "Emily, could you clear your laptop off the dining table? We have strategy meetings tonight," he'd say, his voice polished like his Italian loafers. Never quite a request, but always an order. Mom, Susan, would nod along, her eyes pleading for peace. She'd married him 3 years ago, after Dad's heart attack left her adrift. Richard was the antidote, a self-made owner of Harlan Urgent Care Clinics, a pillar of the community with his Chamber of Commerce awards and charity galas. But beneath the veneer, I sensed the cracks. It started innocently enough. One evening when I was reviewing a stack of claims at the kitchen island, a cluster of bills from Harlan Urgent Care caught my eye, identical codes for advanced wound care, all time-stamped after hours, all reimbursed at premium rates. I knew the regs inside out. Urgent cares weren't equipped for that level of treatment without referrals, and the overlaps suggested ghost patients. Working late, Richard's voice slithered in from the doorway, his shadow falling over my screen. I minimized the window quickly. "Just routine audits." He lingered, sipping his scotch, eyes narrowing. "You know, Emily, with your skills, you could consult for my clinics. Better than grinding away at the hospital." His offer felt like a probe, testing waters I hadn't invited him into. "I'm fine where I am," I replied. But that night, alone in my old bedroom, overlooking the backyard pool, I couldn't shake it. Why were his clinics popping up in my audit so often? Curiosity turned to suspicion as the weeks dragged on. I started digging deeper, using secure hospital databases and public records. Nothing illegal, just the tools of my trade. Patterns emerged like veins under skin, spikes in Medicare reimbursements on weekends, duplicate patient IDs, treatments billed for deceased individuals pulled from state death registries. Richard was padding his empire with fraud, funneling the cash into his campaign through a web of nonprofits he controlled. Mom noticed my late nights, but attributed it to post-divorce stress. "Honey, you need to rest." Richard's under pressure too, the election's heating up. But her loyalty blinded her. Every time I hinted at concerns, she'd defend him. "He's providing jobs, helping people. Don't stir trouble." The favoritism stung deepest when Richard's son from his first marriage showed up unannounced, claiming my room for a short stay. Mom suggested I crash on the couch without batting an eye. "It's family." "Emily, whose family?" The invasions escalated. My mail rifled through, my files rearranged. Richard accidentally using my laptop to check emails. One night, I confronted him in the garage. "Stay out of my things." He smirked. This is my house now. If you're living rent-free, contribute or leave. That was the spark. I began building my dossier in secret, screenshotting every anomaly, backing up to encrypted clouds. A tip came anonymously, a flash drive left in my mailbox with internal emails from Harlan staff, confessing to backdating records under duress. Someone inside wanted him down. The tension built like a storm cloud over the house. Richard's campaign rallies filled our living room with sycophants, while I worked from coffee shops to avoid his prying eyes. Mom grew distant, siding with him in every spat. "You're paranoid from the divorce," she'd say. But I saw the fear in her eyes. She knew something was off but couldn't admit it. Then came the warning, a note under my wiper at work. "Stop digging or lose more than your job." I traced it back to Richard's IP through a metadata scrub. Game on. I reached out to a journalist friend, Lena Vargas from the Riverside Tribune, sharing scraps to build a case. "This could be huge," she said over burner phones. "But we need ironclad proof." I had it, the drive, the records, the money trail looping from Medicare fraud to campaign coffers via his Harlan Health Initiative charity. The night of the slap was the breaking point. I'd confronted him in his study with printouts. "Explain this." He snatched them, face twisting. "You ungrateful bitch." The blow came fast, but my phone, hidden in my pocket, recorded it all, his threats, the impact. My gasp. As he loomed over me, I smiled through the pain. The DA already has copies. His world was about to shatter, and I'd hammered the first crack. The bruise bloomed across my cheek like a dark secret, throbbing with every heartbeat as I drove away from the house that night, the recorder still warm in my pocket. I didn't go far, just to a motel on the outskirts of Riverside, cash in hand, no trail. Richard's words echoed. "You'll regret this, Emily. I own this town." But ownership was an illusion, and I was about to prove it. The next morning, I met Lena at a park bench, the city waking around us with joggers and dog walkers oblivious to the bomb I carried. "Listen to this," I said, playing the audio. Her eyes widened. "Assault on tape, plus the fraud docs. We can bury him." But we needed strategy. Richard's connections ran deep. Donors on the city council, buddies in the DA's office. We decided on a two-prong attack, her exposé timed with his big fundraiser, and my anonymous tip to federal Medicare investigators. Back at work, I fortified my position. My boss at Riverside General, Dr. Patel, noticed the bruise but didn't pry. "If you need time off." I shook my head. "Just resources." I used hospital access to verify more claims, hundreds of thousands in overbills, siphoned to shell companies. One nonprofit, Riverside Wellness Fund, funneled grants straight to Richard's campaign as advisory fees. It was elegant corruption. Taxpayer money buying votes. Home became a battlefield. Mom fussed over my face, blaming a clumsy fall, but Richard avoided me, his eyes darting like a cornered animal. He ramped up the pressure subtly, calls from HR questioning my overtime, whispers among staff about my instability. I countered by hiring a lawyer, Marcus Reed, a whistleblower specialist Lena recommended. "You've got a slam-dunk case," he said in his cluttered office, reviewing the files. "Katam's suit under the False Claims Act. You could net 30% of recoveries." Money wasn't the point, justice was. But the reward loomed large, potentially life-changing after my divorce wiped me out. As days blurred, the isolation hit hard. Mom pulled away, echoing Richard's lines. "Why can't you let it go? He's given us so much." Us. He'd given her diamonds and status. Me. Nothing but grief. A breaking point came when I found my room tossed, drawers open, Laptop tampered with. Richard denied it, but the smirk said otherwise. That night, I moved essentials to a storage unit, preparing for fallout. Lena's sources multiplied. A nurse from his clinic slipped us memos ordering staff to fabricate visits. He's threatened our jobs, she confided. The web tightened. Richard's fundraiser loomed, a glitzy event at the Riverside Country Club. Black-tie donors toasting his vision for health equity. He paraded Mom like a trophy. Her smile brittle. I crashed it incognito, blending with caterers. Phone ready. Overheard snippets confirmed everything. Toasts to creative financing, laughs about Medicare magic. I recorded discreetly, slipping out before Richard spotted me. Back in my motel, I compiled it all: audio, docs, timelines. Marcus filed protective orders, shielding me from retaliation. You're untouchable now, he assured. But Richard tried anyway. A late-night call. Drop this, or your mother's next. The threat chilled me, but it was bluff, recorded, added to the pile. Mom confronted me the next day, tears streaming. What are you doing to our family? Saving it, I whispered. But she stormed off. The loneliness gnawed, but resolve burned brighter. Lena's piece was locked. Front page Sunday, detailing the fraud with my evidence anonymized for now. I sent duplicates to the FBI's healthcare fraud unit. Timestamped. Richard sensed the noose. His mood swung wild. Barking at volunteers. Canceling appearances. One evening, he cornered me in the kitchen. Whatever you think you know, it's nothing. His breath reeked of desperation. It's everything, I replied, heart pounding. He raised a hand but stopped, perhaps remembering the last time. The slap's echo fueled me. No more silence. As the fundraiser approached, I practiced my reveal, calm, factual, devastating. Marcus prepped me for depositions. Stay emotional but controlled. Emotion was easy, control, harder. Dreams haunted me, Richard's face twisting. Mom's betrayal fresh. But waking brought clarity. This wasn't revenge, it was righteousness. A final tip came from an insider, Richard's accountant. Spooked by audits, emailed encrypted ledgers showing laundered funds. Jackpot. I backed it up thrice. Shared with Lena. The night before the event, Richard hosted a pre-party at home. Laughter floated upstairs as I packed my go bag. Mom knocked softly. Please. Ain't. Talk to him. I tried, I said. You didn't listen. Her silence spoke volumes. Downstairs, Richard toasted victory. Unaware, his empire teetered. I slipped out into the night. Motel bound. Phone alerting. Lena's text. Story greenlit. Tomorrow, we strike. The build-up was excruciating. A slow burn toward explosion. Richard thought he held the cards. I had the deck. The chandelier lights of the Riverside Country Club glittered like false stars as Richard took the podium, his voice booming with feigned humility, thanking donors for investing in Riverside's future. Mom stood beside him, elegant in her gown, but her eyes scanned the crowd uneasily, perhaps sensing the storm. I lingered in the shadows near the back, invitation forged from a volunteer's discard. Heart racing as I clutched my phone loaded with everything. Recordings. Docs. The works. Lena sat front row. Notebook out. Her signal a subtle nod. Richard's speech peaked. Together, we'll ensure every citizen gets the care they deserve. Transparently and affordably. Applause thundered. Then Q&A opened. His fatal hubris. Hands shot up, he called on plants first. Glowing praise. But Lena rose. Mr. Harlan, how do you respond to allegations of billing fraud at your clinics? The room hushed. Richard chuckled. Baseless smears from opponents. Next. But I stood. Not faceless. Heads turned. Mom gasped. Richard's face paled. Emily, this isn't the place. It's perfect, I said, voice steady despite the tremor inside. I approached the mic stand. Ladies and gentlemen, as a compliance expert, I've uncovered patterns, overbilled Medicare claims for non-existent treatments, funds diverted to this campaign via shell charities. Murmurs swelled. Richard gripped the podium. Security, but donors shifted. Intrigued. I held up my phone. Scan this QR, access 500 pages of evidence, duplicate codes, ghost patients, laundered grants. Phones lit up like fireflies. A donor gasped. This shows my contributions cycled through Harlan Health. Chaos brewed. Richard lunged forward. Lies. She's unstable. Post-divorce bitterness. I played the audio, then the slap. His threats. You'll regret this. I own this town. The room froze. Gasps. Then outrage. That's assault, someone yelled. Mom covered her mouth. Tears welling. Lena stood. Mr. Harlan. Care to comment for the record? He sputtered. Out of context. But the QR spread virally, live streams capturing it all. Federal agents, tipped by my submission, entered through side doors. Richard Harlan. You're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and Medicare violations. Cuffs clicked as flashes popped. He twisted toward me. You bitch. You've ruined everything. Officers dragged him away, his pleas echoing. Mom rushed me, sobbing. How could you? How could he? I whispered, the betrayal cutting deep. The room dissolved into frenzy, reporters swarming, donors demanding refunds. I slipped out, adrenaline crashing, into the cool night air. Lena caught up outside. That was epic. Stories exploding online. My phone buzzed nonstop. Marcus confirming arrests. FBI praising the tip. But the high faded fast. Mom's face haunted me. Back at the motel, I watched coverage. Richard's mugshot trending. Clinics raided. Sleep evaded me. Emotions churning. Vindication mixed with sorrow. Morning brought more. Richard's bail denied. Assets frozen. Mom texted, come home. We need to talk. I ignored it. Meeting Marcus instead. Feds want her testimony. Rewards projecting 7 figures. Staggering, but hollow without family. Weeks blurred in depositions. My story dissected. Colleagues at Riverside hailed me a hero, promoting me to lead auditor with a corner office. But home calls went unanswered. Mom's voicemails pleaded forgiveness, admitting blindness. Richard's plea loomed, facing 20 years. One evening, she showed at my new apartment. I found hidden files. You were right. Tears flowed. I chose wrong. The hug was tentative. A bridge rebuilding slowly. But doubts lingered. Could trust mend? Richard's fall exposed not just fraud, but family fractures. In quiet moments, I pondered, was justice worth the cost? Sunlight filtered through my new office blinds at Riverside General, casting stripes across the desk where stacks of fresh audits waited. Ironic. Given I'd just dismantled a fraud ring, the promotion felt like armor. But the emotional scars from that night at the club pulsed fresh. Richard's arrest replayed in my mind, his defiant glare as cuffs snapped, Mom's shattered expression. Weeks had passed, but the fallout lingered like smoke. Federal prosecutors built their case brick by brick. My evidence the foundation. Depositions dragged, reliving every discovery, every threat. Marcus shielded me from harassment. Richard's lawyers tried smears, but recordings silenced them. Media frenzy peaked. Local hero exposes stepdad's empire headlines. Interviews I declined. Privacy was my last sanctuary. Mom's attempts intensified. Flowers. Notes. A surprise visit to work. Emily.
Please.
I was wrong. Her eyes. Red-rimmed.
Begged.
He manipulated me. Part of me softened. She'd been vulnerable post-Dad. But betrayal's sting held firm. Give me time, I said. The words heavy. Richard cracked under pressure. His empire crumbling. Clinics shuttered. Staff flipping for leniency. Nurses confessing coerced forgeries. Accountants detailing laundered paths. The Riverside Wellness Fund dissolved. Funds redirected to real health programs. Donors sued for refunds. His campaign imploded. A plea deal emerged. 12 years. Full restitution. In court. He glanced at me, defeated. Small. No apology. Just resignation. Mom attended. Alone. Her choice clear at last. Post-sentencing. She invited me to dinner. The house felt empty, without campaign clutter. Over pasta. Tears flowed. I ignored the signs. For security, we talked deep into night, unpacking years of oversight. Forgiveness budded. Tentative, but real.
Family's messy, she said.
But worth fighting for. I nodded. The slaps echo fading. Life normalized. Work thrived. The reward check arrived. Enough for a house. Independence. Dates started. Cautious steps from divorce shadows. But nights brought reflection. Had I destroyed or saved? Richard's greed exposed systemic flaws. My stand inspired whistleblowers. Lena's follow-up won awards, crediting our partnership. Yet doubts whispered, Mom's loyalty shift convenient? Richard's influence gone. But scars remained. A final twist, an anonymous letter from his cell. You won. But at what cost? It chilled, but empowered. I'd chosen truth over comfort, integrity over illusion. The journey reshaped me stronger, wary, hopeful. Years later, standing on my porch overlooking Riverside's rolling hills, the memory of that fateful slap feels like a distant storm, fierce once. Now a lesson etched in my soul. Richard serves his time in a federal pen upstate. His letters to Mom unanswered. She's rebuilt. Volunteering at real clinics. Our bond mended through therapy and time. I lead compliance teams now, training others to spot the lies I once uncovered, turning pain into purpose. But the question lingers, in exposing family secrets. Do we heal or wound forever? Truth demands sacrifice. And mine was steep, lost trust, fractured ties.
Yet,
in the quiet, I know I'd choose the same path again. Greed's empire falls, but integrity endures. A whisper turning to roar. What shadows hide in your own circles? Waiting for light?